morning. Almost noon. Keep my fingers warmed up. Hang on. I used to have an app on my phone, and I gotta look for that again because it was actually very, very cool. I downloaded it before I really had a need to get better at music, and the app was music theory, kind of in a basic music theory. Tension, toccata, and fugue, that kind of thing. Tension chords, resolving chords. Each key's major, each key's minor, each key's diminished seventh. Whatever. I'm gonna look for that because when I do these little improvised songs with you guys, I tend to fall to the key of C just because it's easier for my hands. The major chords C, F, and G are easy, and I know how to go to the tension part. Okay, so for example, here we go. You're in C. We're in C, singing a song that we're making up this morning. And I could have kept going there and back to C if I wanted. Resolve it with the G. Here it comes. Resolution. Back to C. Then a little bridge part. Always go to the second chord. And we went and we fell out of a tree. Landed on a squirrel and it went. Da 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 da. Maybe down. It's basically Traveling Wilburys. All right, running around in the breeze. Well, we're all okay. And tension and what have you. It was a cool app. I'm gonna look that up. Thanks for reminding me. It was one of the earlier incarnations of my phone here that I was probably going. Well, I got no room for all this, so I rarely use that. And I'll say one thing about these little online cloud stores, whether it's the Apple one or the one for the Amazon phone, Google phone, whatever the hell it is. Think of it as your own personal hard drive. That's what I like to think about. Remember, every time you buy something, at least from the Apple Store, App Store, you have the credit that you bought it. You can re-download it whenever you want. So that's cool. Your computer's getting a little clogged up with stuff. Just delete one or two things. If you haven't messed with it in like 10 months, you're like, I never used that app or play that game or use that piece of software. Get rid of it. Oh, I needed that piece of software again. Well, I got to download it, but at least there it is. Just bring it right back. Today, on Coffee with Brian Does It Juggle, we have a different moment because the wife came back with, a major corporation's coffee. I'm not going to give them free advertising, damn it, on my channel. But as it's tradition for me to drink out of the goofy mug here on these shows, we're going to put this coffee in there. Which brings me to my first little thing on my notes here. It says favorite new jokes. I realized when I wrote that down I don't like to, as you guys know, when we do these videos, I have a few ideas of what I want to say. We go off track wildly, and then an hour goes by, and we're like, oh, that was fun. But I also realize I should be careful with that because I'm in the middle of touring around the country. I'm doing the Oregon gig right now. I'll be in Chicago soon. And a lot of you haven't seen a lot of the new jokes that I really like. And I don't want to ruin them for you. So, yeah. So that was one of my favorites. And of course, that's the joke that I do when I'm performing at Renaissance fairs. the fair that allow me to accept the gift of a beverage from an audience member, which most fairs are trying to put the kibosh on that. And I don't blame them. You know, these events can get a little bit on the drinky side of things, and not always for the best to encourage the drinky. Even though these fairs make a lot of a lot of their income from the drinky. Is it bothering you that I'm calling it the drinky? You know what I mean. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Marnie. Good morning, Mark. Hang on. Scroll down. Yes. Let me also just quickly, a programming note. We're a little late this morning because there's a little glitchy thing going on with Patreon. I'm not sure if this post came through to you or not, or you just happen to be a subscriber to my YouTube page. I made the video public as a way of kind of getting around Patreon this morning because I figured. So, does that make sense? Hi, Sierra Mundy. So yeah, there was a weird thing with Patreon. All the other internet here in the house was working. It wasn't our internet. It wasn't Google. It wasn't YouTube. Seemed to be functioning fine. But whenever I tried to go to Patreon, I caused much consternation by the Egyptian squirrels who really run the internet. And so my workaround was just to make the video public and then put it up on YouTube and start it. And it came through, but Patreon was timing out, so couldn't get into it. There you go. So yeah, Patreon's having an issue this morning. And only Patreon, apparently, because I'm looking at my video. It's streaming perfectly fine. You're here, we're here. So every now and then that happens. I'm sure I'm going to get a little notification in the email. Dear Patreons, creators. And they apologize. We're so sorry that the other day. Because they, I make them money. You guys know that, right? Oh, it's all a profit thing. All of us creators in Patreon. You guys pledge. That's very, very nice. Patreon takes a little bite of every artist. Wanting to support the artist, my ass. Cream, half cream. It says cream, 1/2. Can you see that? I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, welcome to the YouTube channel. Welcome to Brian Howard. Still trying to work on naming it, but YouTube is behind on that as well. I think we talked about that before. I have enough subscribers. I've created enough content to have an official name for the channel. This is the second YouTube channel I've had. I had another one that was my main one, and then I either timed out on it, or speaking of timing out, or YouTube got bored with me, or I had logged into it in a while. I lost the password. I could not access it, or something. Something happened, and I had to kind of start from scratch. Anyway, that's not top technology. Okay, back to the favorite joke thing. Every now and then, at a gig like a Ren Fair, somebody will buy me a cup of beer. Here you go. Thank you. At the gigs where I'm allowed to have them. At the gigs where I'm not allowed to have those, I have to take those and put them backstage. The fair doesn't mind so much if I take them backstage, get them visually out of the way, because as we all know, if a performer at a Ren Fair is handed a beer and you drink it, God kills a puppy. That's just the way it is, right? So they're doing the Lord's work. So they're saving puppies. But I came up with that little funny moment a while back when I'm allowed to have it, and I'd say, okay, thank you for the beer, the coffee, but you get the idea. But the fair says I'm not allowed to drink this out of this modern, it's always in a plastic cup, drinking vessel. I'll have to instead disguise it in my authentic wooden Renaissance type Elizabethan mug. I have my little wooden mug, so without further ado, and we can make this a little ceremonial if you like, little drum roll please, and of course, boom, with a big chunk of it sticking out. I did that joke for the first time like 15 years ago, maybe, I think. I don't recall when I first did it. Just came to me, little improv thing, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy it. It has all the aspects that I like of a good bit of shenanigans. It's just shenanigans. It's just silliness. But with purpose. I am not a fan, and I told you guys this on Patreon, and I guess I'm talking to the whole world today since this video is public. So I'm not a fan of silliness for silliness. I'm not a fan of, let me get this right before I phrase it to you the wrong way. I'm not a big fan of just stupid for stupid. We're going to go up on stage, we're going to act really stupid. Well, why? Well, we're just going to go, oh, no. No. I like it when there's meaning behind it and a story behind it. Then I'm all in. I'm your Huckleberry then. And I've been on stage with some folks that like to do just the silly for silly and then have no real reason why. And I've been on stage with other people that wanted to do the silly for silly and just relied on me to kind of put a nice button on it in the world of entertainment, which I'm pretty good at, and I'm proud of that, but still, don't abuse the privilege. Come on, man. I won't say any names here. And it's fine. I don't mind doing that. But come on, it's not my job to put purpose to your ridiculousness. That's a little presumptuous, I would say. What smells weird? There is a toilet plunger within feet of me right now, so we'll get to that in a second. So that is a favorite joke. I've always liked that joke. I like the fact that I talk about something real, which is true, by the way. It's the fairs that do allow you to have a drink on stage. They really prefer if you didn't drink it out of the plastic cup. They don't really come and say that to me. That's just a little bit of theater I added to it. But I'm sure that, honestly, if you ask them, they go, yeah, we'd appreciate if you put it in your mug. And just that natural little moment of setting the audience up, they think you're going to pour it in, and then thank you. Now we can move on with the show. And then it just ends up being a simple, neat button solution, nothing crazy, perfect, beginning, middle, end. Good joke. Good joke, man. And, makes me happy every time I do it. And that was the note I have here. Favorite new jokes. But I'm getting rid of the word new here, guys, because again, I got other gigs coming up in Washington, other gigs in Northern California, gigs at the Bristol Renaissance Fair, and I do have a couple new jokes that those people have not seen yet. So I am not going to ruin your fun. Let's just say it involves asking a very philosophical question of a chicken and his need to progress across the street. Oh, and it ends so well. By the way, that's a perfect joke. Comedy purists. Not that I'm one. Well, I guess I'm a pro at it. So, why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side is a good example of. It's a good way to tell how comedy works. It really is. It really is. It's got all the elements of a good joke. Very simple setup. You think it's a call and response joke. Your expectations are twisted as soon as the response is very clear and not funny. And that's what makes it a great joke, is it's always considered a corny joke. I love that. I love the fact that why does a chicken cross the road to get to the other side is always used in any environment where somebody's given an example of comedy or humor, and they want to kind of either talk about simplistic comedy or they themselves are mocking the joke itself or the character they're playing for doing simplistic comedy, when in reality, why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side is an example of fantastic second and third level comedy. It really is. It's a really misunderstood joke because everybody thinks it's so simplistic. What's a ghost's favorite fruit? Blueberries. Okay, that's a simplistic joke. That's a simplistic joke. And we all know that one. That should be used as the example for the simplistic joke. To get to the other side, that's an advanced joke. That's a deconstructionist joke. That is averting expectations quite a bit. Okay? Blueberries doesn't avert, whatever the term is, doesn't alter expectations at all. When you're asked, what's a ghost's favorite fruit? your brain goes, I don't know. But of course, you know you're getting into a joke. You don't want to ruin the joke. A kid's probably telling it to you, and we've all heard the jokes. Let's play along. But even if we haven't, you go, what, little Billy? The kid gets to say blueberries, and we all go, hee, hee, hee. Because boo, of course, is a play on the word blueberry. And what do ghosts say? They say boo. And that's why that's a joke. And that's cute. It does not, however, mess with our expectations, really. One, it's a reference to a fruit, and that's exactly what the kid asked us. That's exactly what he asked us. And two, it's a fruit that has a lovely little pun built in. Isn't that clever and isn't that fun? The answer is yes. It's a cute little joke. Simple joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? Why? To get to the other side. It is a simple joke. 2 parts, 2 sentences. Well, call and response. You're assuming that the audience goes, why? But then the carpet is pulled out right from underneath you. There's no simple answer like a pun, like in blueberries. There's no funny little play on words, something to do with a chicken or rooster or cock or hen or white meat or dark meat or any other kind of reference to a chicken. Coop, comb, waddle, parts of a chicken, right? Thigh, wing, leg, beak, peck, any other word you could have used. And think of all the words that involve a chicken that might involve and somehow you could tie into walking across the street or transporting yourself or the chicken self. That would be a basic joke. But that joke says no, pulls the carpet off underneath you and just answers straight ahead. Give you an example of what I'm talking about. There's another joke that I do occasionally whenever I don't know many jokes, as you guys know. A lot of people in the comedy world don't do jokes, excuse me. Ooh, slippers. And I'm certainly one of them. Guy walks into a bar, the bartender says, hey, aren't you the guy from the joke that doesn't have the punchline? Guy says, yep. That's a comedian's joke. I learned that from a comedian backstage at a comedy club. I wasn't performing there, my friend was. And I've loved it ever since because it also is, of course, subversive. That one, of course, having the extra level of not only does the guy not answer in what you think would be the classic punchline, but once you see what the deliverer of the joke, the deliverer of the joke did, technically it is a punchline, so it's a double whammy. Whereas the why did the chicken cross the road joke just subverts you and goes, duh, to get the other side. You know? See, I'm on board with that. So is it the best joke ever? No, but it certainly is a good illustration of advanced comedy. So it's kind of weird that joke is always used as the placeholder for corny comedy or bad comedy or simplistic comedy, when it's not. It's easy to deliver, is why. 2 lines, ba-ding, ba-dang. Easy peasy. So hello, friends, people that are joining me live. If you're not watching the video live, if you came back to this post here on Patreon late, that's okay. Still happy you're here with us. If you're watching this on Patreon, it means Patreon has fixed itself this Thursday morning here in Los Angeles, June 9th, 6/9. Make your jokes there if you must. Do you have any questions about what's going on, tour-wise, or me traveling? I have a few more things to talk about, but I'm looking at the chat. There's a few of you here live. You can ask me a question to change the conversation to the way you want it to be. Actually, my little button here, I better not touch it. Last time I touched the button here at the bottom of the screen, things got crazy. But I think if I touch this one that looks like you're talking to me, all the little comments will show up here rather than just down here on the laptop. Let me touch it, see what happens. Dink. Live chat. Oh, there it is. I did have that off. Sarah Polstream says, afternoon, friends, or whatever time, wherever you are. Yeah, well, it's still morning here, Sarah. I mean, until the AM, until post-meridian, right? Ante-meridian, post-meridian. Post, my mom? Wait, hang on. Let me find out. What does PM stand for? Well, they're going to say primary. Yeah, post meridium. I got that right. And what does AM stand for? What does AM? Antemeridium. We're an antemeridium here in Los Angeles. You may be post meridium there in Chicago. I guess you are by 15 minutes. Anyway, okay. So the next thing on my notes I want to talk about was just the joys of staying in my time zone. Man, I was at the Oregon Renaissance Fair last week and had a great time. Had a bit of a travel snafu getting there. Not their fault. Nobody's fault. It is what it is. Frustrating though, I'll tell you what. First of all, why do I need that time? You know, I thought of that as I was driving in. When I finally got my rental car, after standing at the rental car counter for half an hour, after an 8-hour, not a delay, by the way. I'm not going to call it a delay because that's a misnomer. I was not on a flight delay. My original flight was just plain canceled, and that was the best they could do to get me out of Los Angeles. Was a flight that was 7.5 hours later. Careful with your words, man. They mean something, you know. It reminds me of whenever people go to to theme parks, like they go to Disney or Universal, and they says, "Oh, the ride kept breaking down," and I go to I like theme parks and I like going to them, and I know for a fact that when the cars slow down a little bit, some people call that a breakdown, whereas I know, because I'm a bit of a theme park nerd, 90% of the time that's the ride being slowed down or stopped to let somebody in and out of a wheelchair. Did the ride really break, or is the ride actually doing exactly how it's meant to function? I don't know. It's just something like you spend all this money to go to an amusement park, and then something like that happens, and our immediate response is something kind of, I don't know, negative, like, oh, the rides kept breaking down. And I would say, what would happen? Well, we're in Haunted Mansion, and the ride slowed way down and came to a stop, and then it kept going again. You know, and I've been on that ride enough to know that that's usually like a wheelchair issue or something like that. So relax. It didn't break down. Or just somebody had to get off their wheelchair. And I love that. Who doesn't love that? I mean, first of all, come on. Who wouldn't want to get stuck in the Haunted Mansion at a really cool part, or Pirates of the Caribbean in a really cool part, or any other cool theme park, or whatever you like, Jurassic World. Jurassic World, man, Universal Studios. It's a cool ride, but boy, if you go to Universal, well, at least here in Los Angeles, I don't know about Universal Orlando, but Universal Los Angeles, that's easily the longest line. You know, the Harry Potter ride, of course, is a long line too. But if you get there, you might as well run. You might as well spend the night. You might as well break in early. Okay? Bring bolt cutters. Get into Universal Los Angeles, Hollywood. I guess they like to be called Hollywood. They're not technically in the neighborhood called Hollywood, but it's part of their, milieu. A lot of people don't know that. For you people that don't know, Hollywood is a neighborhood in Los Angeles, and then there's North Hollywood, which is its own, West Hollywood, get confused there, which is its own city. It's confusing. There's Hollywood, which is just a neighborhood, like I live in a neighborhood. It has an official mayor always, but that's just usually a charming little thing that somebody did back in the day, and I guess somebody gets appointed the mayor for a year, and it's more like a PR stunt. It's just a neighborhood in Los Angeles, but West Hollywood is its own city, I think. Not sure about that. Let's look that up. Do we care? We don't care. Beverly Hills is its own city too. So is Santa Monica. Hey, welcome to the show. It's where I drink coffee and tell you of all the little cities and towns here associated with Los Angeles and Southern California, which ones are cities and which ones are suburbs and which ones are just neighborhoods. Well, none of you are asking questions, so I'm going to keep yammering on. Unless my chat got stuck. Let me recycle my page, and of course, it'll be like 20 questions. Delete. Nope. Anywho, so the other thing time zones. Okay, so here's the deal. Time zones. if you're new to these videos, this is what happens. I want to talk about time zones, and somehow I get confused by being delayed as opposed to having flights canceled, and then, of course, don't use the wrong words that I'm talking about. You know, theme parks. You can if you want, Sarah. I threw it out there a few seconds ago. Go ahead and ask a question if you want, because I have notes of stuff I want to talk about. But I figured, you guys in all these coffee videos, you can always ask me a question. More than happy. Not like a bad advice type question. Just a, well, I mean, you can. You can. I'm not going to put rules on it. But I'll go on with my little time zone thing. So this weekend coming is the second week of the Oregon Renaissance Fair. I am flying through San Francisco because we've already talked about the fact you can't fly directly there. And I don't change time zones. And there is something psychologically very cool about that. As a traveling performer, the hardest thing is time zone change, man. When I do gigs in the East Coast, when I do gigs in Florida, it can be brutal sometimes. You lose 3 hours flying east. You get there. In your body clock, it's 6:30 or 7. But it's 10. It's dark. You got to get to your hotel or wherever you're staying. You got to go to sleep. Take a sleeping pill. Go to sleep. Wake up the next morning. Now you're 3 hours, earlier. You're getting up. You're setting your alarm at 8, right? 8 Eastern. Oh, yeah, but you're a West Coast guy, so technically your body thinks you're getting up at 5 a.m. It's brutal. But I do it, and it usually it's not a problem. And this is the point I'm trying to make. I adapt to it, and it's like, no big deal. You get up, you have some coffee, you're like, okay. Sure, my body thinks it's 8, but it's really, 5, but really it's 8 where I am, and fine, whatever. Adapt. And I do. But when I'm flying back and forth, here in the Pacific time zone, Western, whatever the hell it's called, there's something unbelievably pleasant about knowing that I'm going to take off tomorrow. My flight tomorrow is at noon, I think, roughly, here in LA, connecting through San Francisco. Got a long connection there. I'm going to be there for like 2 hours. Maybe I'll do a video. And then I get on the ground at 7 p.m. or something up in Portland. And guess what? It's the same 7 p.m. that I know and love. And even though that's a long day of travel, because it stayed in my time zone. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. That's what I wanted to tell you guys. Because I'm staying in my time zone, at least for these 2 weeks and 3 more weeks in August, it's very comforting. It's just comforting. Then I do Bristol, of course, where I lose 2 hours. So, hang on. I have a question. What's the story behind the yellow rubber ducky that was behind you on Beer and Songs yesterday? You mean this one? This one right here? Well, we met in prison. He was doing a 10-year hitch for grand larceny. He bumped off a breadcrumb shipment from LaGuardia, and I was doing a 5-year stint for just loving, just too much loving. He was the top bunk, and we got out at the same time. He got good behavior, because he was pliable. The toughs would come and try to mess with him, and he would just adapt. He'd change who he was. He'd learn to make himself squish and small, and then he knew that prison couldn't keep him down, and then he'd come right back. We've been in touch ever since. We got out. I went down to Mexico to work on a boat, and I hid some cash and a map and a bus ticket, I guess, underneath a piece of stone that should not be in a Maine hayfield. And then he got out a couple years later, and he said to himself, "Get busy living or get busy dying." And ain't that right? And he got on himself a bus and he met me in El Guantanejo, Mexico. Yeah. That's the story of the duck. And then we came back here to L.A. You know, this was before I was married and before he settled in with us. And now we have a lovely little platonic, although sometimes sexual relationship. Hope that answered your question. It's a duck. It's a squishy duck. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it's in our house. It's one of those stress ducks. Every time I squish it, I feel more stressed, though. You adapt, but you're complaining about it. I'm not. I'm not complaining about it, Bobby, about the travel. It's more just I don't like it. I adapt, but I guess what I'm trying to say, Bobby, and Bobby brings up a good point. I did come off like I was complaining about it. So fair point, Bobby. Fair point. I guess what I'm trying to say is knowing that I'm not going to travel time zones tomorrow, I'm much more casual and I feel better about the travel. I just feel like I'm driving up the street, even though I'm traveling 1,000 miles tomorrow, roughly between LA and Portland. I think it's like 900 something, but still 1,000 miles. And yet I feel like I'm just driving down the street. I'm gonna drive down the street to San Francisco. Gonna hang out there for a little bit. I'm gonna get another plane. Drive down the street a little further to Portland. Be there for the weekend. You know, very casual. It's a mental thing, Bobby. My mind is whereas coming in early July when I first fly to Bristol, when I first fly to Chicago. Now it's a further trip. Let's not deny that either. Between here and although it's a further trip, but the travel's the same, probably even shorter. Because of course I have a layover in San Francisco here on the West Coast because that's the rules. You can't fly directly from Los Angeles to Portland because they don't want you to. So I think so that's what it is, Bobby. Yeah, I wasn't really complaining about it, but you bring up a good point. It's just there's something meant. I've talked to you guys about how certain parts of my neighborhood have certain vibes and juju, I call it, and certain cool things. We've chatted about that before because it's come up in other conversations. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Staying here on the West Coast has better juju, and the vibe is better for me just because I'm from here. That's all. And then traveling to the Midwest or traveling to the East Coast, the juju is a little like, you know, even though often the trip is not longer because I get to fly directly to Chicago. South Florida, unfortunately, I got to connect through Houston because, again, that's the law. You don't want to talk about travel, by the way. Coffee got cold already. Yes. What's his name? I don't know if the duck has a name. You want to give him a name, a Sarah Polish name? And then we can always refer to him as that. I give you naming rights of Mr. Duck. Around here, as you know, we tend to name things Mr. or whatever. We don't give him real names. So he'll just live here on my shoulder, and you can name him. Well, I'll put him here, and I'll look like a hunchback. So yeah, that's to put a button on the whole time zone thing. It's just that I think even though the trip, is longer between here and Portland because of the layover, right? I'm in the airport plane airline system longer. Chicago direct flight, it's like a 4.5 hour flight. If I'm plus the hour and a half before the flight that I'm there, what is that? It's just 6 hours that I'm in, and then maybe 7 hour, rental car. So it's like 7 hours from getting to the airport here to leaving the airport in a rental car, because that's when I call the trip over. If I'm driving to a hotel, that's not part of the trip. That's just me driving to the hotel. Whereas flying from here to Portland, we're not going to do the math on this. It's getting ridiculous. It better be as good as raisin veg, Sarah. Oh my God, Bobby. Well, Sarah gets to name the duck. I have decided. Look at him all there in my shirt, looking cute. No, please don't make it like that, Sarah. Please ignore Bobby. Anyway, So I just wanted to mention that thing about the time zones because tomorrow's the last one of these flights to Oregon, and it is very chill, and I kind of enjoy the chill of it, and I'm just very relaxed about it. Mostly because, and Bobby, there is something mentally, psychologically weird about losing hours. And ask yourself this: if you guys live on the East Coast, you notice that when you fly back from the West Coast, if you come out here for business or vacation, you go to Hawaii, you go to Disneyland, you go to Seattle, where the hell you go, and then you fly home, you know what I mean? When you fly home, you lose that time. And psychologically, it's a bit weird. I don't like it. Now, of course, Monday when I fly home from the Florida Renaissance Fair, the Bristol Renaissance Fair, I gain back an hour or two, and that's always nice because you can sleep in, maybe get a later flight out of O'Hare, knowing full well that you're going to gain back 2 hours anyway. So even if you leave as late as noon or 3, and gain back timey hours, you're you get there at 4:30 or 5. That's not so bad. So I guess I should have led with that, Bobby. I should have said that the whole time zone thing is more about that whole darkness. I don't like getting on a plane when it's daylight out, landing in Florida, and it's dark and late. Ugh, it's frustrating. Yeah, exactly, Bobby. Oh, we have a name for the the duck's name is Sir Quackers von Smusherton. Sir Quackers von Smusherton. And let's see if he can poke his head out. Hang on. Sir Quackers, you coming? Oh, here he comes. There's Sir Quackers von Smusherton. Okay, I'll try that again. I think it'll work better. Here we go. I want him to push the shirt aside and just sort of emerge. You ready? Here we go. And he kind of is. There we go. Sir Quackers von Smusherton. I can't have him up there the whole time because we're going to juggle soon. Where are we on time? Cool. Um, yeah, exactly, Bobby. Thank you. Okay, I also wanted to talk about, well, we'll get to that in a second. Uh, favorite, oh, we're back on favorite jokes. I kind of got distracted, didn't I? And I can't tell you the new favorite joke because a lot of you haven't seen it yet. Let's just say that the new favorite jokes have been facilitated by the extra room in the show, which I've talked to you about the past week. I think I mentioned that to you guys, how that's really benefiting me, and I'm having a good time. Well, I know what I want to talk about. I got to be careful. This is when I say careful, I mean to myself. Never mind. Forget I said that. Um, as you guys know, when I did the Florida show, I spent a lot of the time in my rental car because it was hot as hell. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to manage my health and well being. And normally it's a fare that I like walking around on, but I started getting a little addicted to the privacy of the backstage rental car. Now, at the gig I'm at right now, my car is a little further away. It's not right backstage, but it's not that far away. 100 meters away, maybe a little more. Length of a football field. 100 yards, meters, sorry. I've been hanging out there again. First week. Now, granted, the first weekend of the Oregon Fair, there's a lot of drizzle. So I'm going to walk around and do stuff while I'm there. And by the way, it doesn't mean I'm not out there in the world. You know, I still do my front gate meet and greet stuff. And to all you patrons, don't forget it. We may do that live again Saturday or Sunday out there at the Oregon Fair. We did it last Sunday. The camera was aimed right at me and Mooney and I as we were doing front gate chitty chat with the customers coming in, and that was fun. So look for that. I'm not going to announce it because it may not happen. But if you see a Patreon post, hey, front gate at the Oregon Renaissance Fair, check it out. That's what that is. And hopefully by then Patreon will have all of its ducks in a row and figure out why their server is acting up today. What was I saying? Oh, so I'm a little concerned that I'm getting a little addicted to this whole hiding out in the rental car thing. Now, it depends on the gig, it depends on the weather, on how much I'm going to walk around. You got to conserve your energy. 4 or 5 shows a day can be exhausting. Why burn extra calories? Why exhaust yourself more by putting a couple miles on your old pedometer there? And I've checked my phone on fairs where I walk a lot, that, you know, the phone keeps track of how far you're walking and stuff. And guess what? Yeah, a mile or two sometimes. If it's a fair where I have, and I used to be that way. From when I first got into the business to, I guess, just very recently, pre-COVID, I guess, some gigs, it depended on the gig. Some gigs, I was very content to be backstage, to be chilling. And over my career, I've known a lot of the performers that all have their different habits. Some were backstage types, show, then right backstage, and I respected that. But I never was that. I was, hey, get out, see the people, chit-chat, socialize, promote your show. Then, of course, you get enough of a following where you don't really have to promote your show that much. People know where you are. They came to the fair because of you. They bought the ticket because of you. By the way, don't forget to tell every gig you see me at, I'm only there for him. I know it's not true. We know it's not true. Maybe it is true. But I'm not assuming that it is. But still, just say it is anyway. I was always the want to get out there kind of guy, for the most part. Now, certain backstages were nicer and more sociable and stuff. There's a backstage at the Georgia Renaissance Fair that I did for a couple of years at both sites that was nice to hang out at, even when it wasn't my backstage. When it was at the old site, I would go over to that stage as backstage because I had a lot of friends that worked on that stage. And one of them was a theater troupe, a Shakespearean theater, a comedy Shakespeare troupe. The late, great Clark Orwick was, of course, part of that troupe. And a lot of funny, talented guys, all a little older than me. You know, I was 10 years to 15 years younger than most of them. But I enjoyed their chit-chat and their vibe. And, of course, the Zucchini Brothers over there, too. That's how I got to know those guys. And there was plenty of time to hang out backstage. And it was like this little clubhouse. In fact, I think we got shushed on more than one occasion because this backstage was kind of backed up, had 2 staging areas backed up right against it. And while one stage was on, it was like the Mud Show or something, the other stage was dark or something. Yeah, and so that's why they were all hanging out back there, because nobody on that stage could perform while the Mud Show was on or something like that. I don't know. And a few times the Mud actors, and they were all nice people too, would say, hey man, keep it down back there. We're trying to make this audience out here laugh and have a good time, and they hear uproarious laughter going on from inside the backstage because everybody's up cracking wise and being a goof. Oh, I miss that kind of shit so much. It's so nice. So that was that vibe. But I still liked walking around the fair. I still liked being seen, promoting my show, flirting, I don't know, back in the day, right? Meeting the ladies, even though that was my usual move, was this face. So I didn't close a lot of deals, if you know what I mean. But since COVID, when COVID happened, the Bristol Renaissance Fair was the first gig I did. And the plan was to do opening gate meet and greet, although avoiding too much physical contact. I would always tell people Brew, and they put their arms out, they want to hug. I'd kind of go, oh, thank you. And they understood. They were like, oh, okay, sure. Make sure they hand. Let's be careful here, shall we? And I hung out backstage between every show after that. To be safe. Little camp chair, headphones on, podcast, food, drink, wet wipes, lots of wet wipes. And then went on to Washington, which is the kind of fair that I do want to walk around a little bit. I don't know why. It's the vibe, it's the juju. But the same thing there. Front gate meet and greet, and then hang out backstage. For the most part. At that fair, I did walk out a little more. I don't know why, I just did. Northern, stuck backstage the whole time. Sarasota Medieval Fair, stuck backstage the whole time. And then this year, starting with Florida, stuck backstage the whole time because of the heat in Florida and stuff. And then that was the first time I figured, oh, why not use this rental car that I have access to and turn the air conditioning on? So, smart move, finally. How many years did it take me to figure that out? To be honest, in my defense, don't always have access to a car, rental car or my car. It's parked over in a parking lot half a mile away, so it doesn't make sense. That just happened to be a fair where my car was parked literally feet from the backstage area. Yes, it is there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm a little concerned that maybe I'm getting a little addicted to this whole hide backstage vibe. Okay, I'll tell you what. And this is going out to the world right now. I'm pledging. The weather this weekend at the Oregon Fair, it looks like it's going to be better than last week. Still might be some drizzle because it's Oregon. But I'm going to try to walk around. I'm going to try to be social. Once the fair is open, I should say. And once I've done one show. Because, of course, I'm usually out there, meet and greet, front gate stuff, until my first show. And then it's just run backstage or hide in the rental car. I'm going to try to not do that. Try. And then when I get to Bristol, same thing there. I will try to walk about. I will try to socialize. I will try to be seen in the world. There. It's official now. I said I can't back up from that, right? It's official. I have to do that. Although, man. Okay, let's talk a little bit about why it's a good thing. As an artist, as a performing artist, you give of yourself. That 45 minutes that you're on stage, your soul, your being, your light, your eyes, your voice, your love, your hate, everything doesn't belong. Well, it belongs to everybody. It belongs to the world. It belongs to the audience. This is such a weird visual. I'm sorry. I don't mind the duck. The duck's kind of cute. It looks like I'm a hunchback. Slippers. I think what I started really enjoying about the privacy of the rental car and the podcast and the playing solitaire on my phone or reading a book on my phone, turning the air conditioning on, whatever it is I'm doing in the car. I think it was allowing myself to be just with me, the privacy that I need. As I've definitely told you guys before, and my wife knows, my family knows, I am somebody who was raised very much alone in many ways, and to this day, I still really cherish my privacy. To the point where I just want to be alone sometimes. I need my alone, not privacy. Privacy is alone time. That's the same though, isn't it? Privacy, alone time. Okay, whatever. Alone time. And when you're a performer, you don't get alone time very much. Although I've heard stories of like major rock acts, like the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd and the Who and stuff, traveling on the road and how they all, the individual members, have their alone time. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Neil Peart, would end may she rest in peace, would end a Rush concert and he'd just skedaddle. Last beat of the last song, the other two dudes, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, would walk to the edge of the stage to bow. He'd wave from the drum kit, gone. And it wasn't to be rude. It was just he needed that alone time. So I guess in a way, Neil Peart and I are similar like that. So I think ever since I started hoveling backstage, not havering, remember from I Will Walk 500 Miles. I will. Just to be in a thousand miles down. Then I go back to my car where I can be alone all myself. I just did a show. I gave a lot of me, and now I want to be just there by myself. And I will sit inside my car, and I will sit there all alone, and then I'll come back out of the car and do a show for us to laugh. Ha ha ha. ha 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 ha. So no heavering, no havering. So I'm going to try to break that cycle. Okay, so there you go. So this weekend at the Oregon Renaissance Fair, if you come out and between shows, do not be surprised if you see me walking about the site. It's a small site, so I can do a lap of the whole site in 5 minutes. So I'm going to make that pledge to you right now. And when you see me in Bristol, I will try to be out there on the streets. Not all day. Conserve some energy. 4 or 5 shows to get through. Can be exhausting. But I'll be out there more than I have, and I got to break that cycle because I'm not sure if it's the healthiest thing. To just want to crave it, to just want to go. I can't wait to get off stage and back to because I've done that a few times. I still love being a performer. Oh, I love being on stage. It's so great. Love the energy. It's great. But at the back of my mind, there's a little voice that says, "Boy, it's hot up here," or "Boy, it's rainy. Can't wait to get back in that rental car and be dry and cool and warm and whatever the hell." Gotta not listen to that voice too much. For a lot of things in life, that voice often will give you bad advice. It might say, you know what? Keep a cute little duck under your shirt for the whole second half of your video. Guys, I want to do Does It Juggle right now, but as you know, Patreon is acting up, so I'm going to try to access Patreon right now to get to the actual post. Oh, okay, it's working now. Let's go to the post. Ooh, why do I see 2 posts? That's weird. Oh, that's an edit. That's right. Does It Juggle? There it is. Okay, so far it's working. All right, it looks like Patreon got its shit in order. Okay, you had 6 items to choose from. The one was a small propane bottle. Number 2, 1 sleeping gummy. It's a sleeping pill in a gummy form. I'm not sure if that came across. I thought you maybe thought it was like a little gummy thing that was asleep. Could have been that. 3, a toilet plunger. 4, scissors. I don't like to say pair of scissors because there's just one. Scissors. We get it. 1 piece of unburned firewood. I think we did a piece of burnt firewood a few weeks back. I figured let's go the other way. And a cut open tomato. The top items, let's go with the top 2. Everything tied today. We have 2 that tied for the top, and then all the other 4 got the exact same percentage. So in no particular order, I guess we'll just start with the toilet plunger. And yes, I rinsed it out. Let me double check. Okay, there is moisture in it because I just rinsed it. And even though I just washed it, I don't want... And we'll do the whole checking of it over there like we did last week. This is the way we'll do this from now on. We'll talk about the items here, then we'll walk over there. He gestures with the toilet plunger. Number 2, a cut open tomato. I cut this open for a sandwich yesterday, and it's kind of a mushy tomato, and I put it back in the Zippy Lucky. I'll take it out of the Zippy Lucky when we get over there. Don't worry. It will come out of the Zippy Lucky. But there it is for now. And the third item is over there, so I guess we might as well head over there, guys, and do Does It Juggle. You guys ready for the transfer? Actually, let me get one more sip of coffee. I can take this with me. I don't know why I said that. Loud chair. Okay, guys, prepare to look up my nose and at the sky. The beautiful Southern California sky. It's the same sky as where you are, guys. No, we don't own the sky here. Like Montana. Montana tries to call itself Big Sky. Is it Big Montana or Wyoming? One of those states. But I left the other items over here. Hang on. Okay, plunger and tomato. And the third item, everything else tied, so I'm just going to go with the propane bottle. It said little propane bottle. So there's that. Little propane bottle. Okay, so let's get used to how they all go. That's the little propane bottle. Now, obviously, the plunger looks like something you could flip as you juggled. Oh, there you go. By the way, I am a very proud juggler in many regards and ashamed in others. But I'm proud of the fact that I'm trying to think before I'm going to say it. I don't believe I've ever done a routine where I juggled a plunger. You guys out there that are aspiring young jugglers, or maybe you're a middle-aged guy like me who's thinking of being a professional entertainer, and you figure, I can juggle. What's a funny object to juggle? A plunger's a funny object. I'll just juggle. You can do that. That's fine. Go for it. It's a bit rote. It's a bit obvious. It's a bit down the center. It's a bit, kind of what kind of fruit does a ghost like? Blueberry kind of situation. I'd try to avoid it if I were you because I think it's a bit corny. It's up to you. Whatever kind of juggler you want to be. So this is, I think, probably unless I've done this before on this segment, which maybe I have. I think maybe I have juggled this plunger before, but not with these two items. Okay, so plunger's going to flip a little propane bottle, which is in the sun, and it's getting hotter to the touch. It's metal. I use this, of course, as you know, to light my fires in the background. Normally it has like a little thing on it that I took that off because that's going to be here. And the tomato, which I think I'm not going to take out until we go because this is a super mushy tomato. It's probably 1 or 2 days past prime, and I ate a sandwich yesterday, and the tomato got all mushy, but I don't care. It still tasted good. And that's the attempt. Okay, here's the rules, guys. I get two attempts to get to 12. 12 throws and catches. A throw and a catch, of course, is when it leaves one hand and lands in the other. For example, 1. Boom. Did you notice that I counted on the throw? I always count on the throw and not the catch. It's just the way I do it. So a little bit of confusion there. Just know that whatever I throw, number 12, boom. If I catch that, success. We call that a success. Don't worry about it. What happens number 13, number 14, number 15, we don't care. Other people do this. I did not invent the idea of a challenge juggle. Some people go to 20. Some people say that they have to catch all the objects cleanly. I don't give a damn. I live my life. You live your life. Don't yuck my yum. I try to get to 12 throws and catches. If I catch that 12th one, I don't care what happens at 13 or 14. Last week I succeeded. I just kept going to 17 or something. Week before that I failed at 4. 2 attempts to get to 12. And yes, an added level of difficulty. I am going to leave Ivan von Squishy Crack. I forgot his name. Squishy Crack. Squishy Crack. That's one of my finishing moves. Ivan, whatever his name was, Quackerston is going to stay in my shoulder. And I think I'm going to take off the sunglasses. These actually are not sunglasses. They're my prescription glasses, but I don't like the look of sunglasses. For doing videos, I think you'd rather see my eyes, even if I have to squint. Okay, so added difficulty of keeping the duck up there. 12 throws and catches. How do I think it's going to go? I think I'm going to succeed. I have a good positive thing. The hardest thing to juggle, I think, is going to be the tomato, because I believe as soon as I start throwing it, it's going to start disintegrating. Same rules apply as they always do for objects that disintegrate. As long as I keep the main part of it moving, success. Do not worry. A few of you are like, oh, that's fuel. That's going to explode. Hollywood has lied to you a lot about how these gas things work. One of my favorite movies in the world, of course, is Jaws, and I love it, but it does have a major flaw. If you shoot a scuba tank, it does not explode. That's, so when Hooper gets mad at Martin, you screw around with these things, they're going to blow up. No, they're not. Mythbusters prove that. They basically took the exact same rifle that Roy Scheider had. They shot it into a scuba tank. All it did was rupture the tank. The tank immediately expelled all of its pressurized oxygen, but it didn't explode. It just all within like a second. Would it have hurt the shark? Maybe that air shooting out of that force would have damaged its cheeks, and it would have done that thing with and that'd have been funny. And then he would have kept coming and then chomped on Sheriff Brody. Also, if I drop this, it will not explode. It won't even break open. These suckers are pretty well made, and it does have some fuel in it, so it's not perfectly solid. I meant to mention that when I just threw it around, it is. I can feel the little. Probably not, it's not that full. I think it's got like maybe 10 ounces of actual propane in it. Okay, so I think I'm going to succeed now that I've said that. How am I going to start, though? I'm grabbing the tomato. I didn't like tomatoes growing up, but I really enjoy them now. I wouldn't just bite into this right now. I don't think I would like that. I like them like on sandwiches and stuff. Okay, so here's our, guess what, though? It's very juicy. My hands are already soaking wet with tomato juice. That's going to be a problem. How are we on visual? I think we're going to lower us down just a bit. Okay. Starting's going to be a problem, I'm now noticing. Okay, here we go. Here's how we're going to start. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to start propane. Oh, yeah, propane bottle, right hand. Oh, tomato juice is all over me. Remember when I said I was going to succeed? Let's dial that back. I'm now 60% confident. I was about 80% confident. I just dialed that back because this tomato is literally losing moisture at an alarming rate. 60% positive I'm going to do it. Attempt number one, propane bottle, little one, tomato that's been cut open, by the way. That's part of the charm of it. You guys got that. Toilet plunger. Take one. Can you see? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. 7. I hate when I get to 7 because that's halfway there. I think I really want to start with the plunger. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go right to it. Plunger is going to be the first object this time, then the bottle, then the tomato. Here we go. Attempt 2. I succeeded last week, guys. Where others came and failed, I succeeded. The good luck duck. How's it feel? I agree. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I feel like a performer that you all hate as I'm slathered with tomato. I'll get the hose out and wash this off when the video is over. Well, guys, that was fun. I got it. I messed up sort of in the middle. I thought I'm losing it. It banged against my chest. I kept it going. That's fine. The rules of juggling, as long as you're still juggling, I don't care. Thought I was losing it when it ran into me, the tomato. I thought, that's it. I'm going to drop, but I kept juggling. Starting by throwing this first or second, whatever I did, was a huge improvement. Flipping this first, Quackers intact. Sir Quackers, Von Squisherton, is that his name? And Sir Quackers helped. He whispered in my ears the whole time. He counterbalanced the negative side of my energy, which went, what's wrong with you? You're a middle-aged man in your backyard with a duck under your shirt. Why didn't you apply yourself in high school? And then the duck said, no, people love you. You have value to the world. But that's what I interpreted, because really all I heard was... But I got it. I got like 17 throws. The tomato is totally dead. As you know, whenever we juggle food here on the show, I promise myself not to waste it, but this got a little gross, so we're just going to... Maybe we don't compost around here. Maybe I could. I could leave it out for the ants. Now we don't want ants. Garbage disposal, all it is. Okay, guys, I succeeded where others have ventured and failed. I juggled a toilet plunger, not a gross, but a mushy cut in half tomato and a small little bottle of propane, and we did not blow up any sharks as we did it. The toilet kept flowing, and the tomato was thrown at the performer. Well, whatever. Hope you had a good time hanging out with me. Thanks for your continued patronage. If you're new to watching me here on YouTube, please like, follow, hit the bell, do all the stuff right below here to let you know when I do a video again. We do these every now and then. These videos are not usually public like this one is. In fact, I might edit it so it no longer is public once the video is over. That's right. That's right. That's right, Patreons. I have that power. As soon as we get off here, I might edit this so it's only available to you. That's right. Had to make it public to figure out what the hell's going on with Patreon this morning. Anyway, coming up this weekend for all the patrons, we're going to be doing some live streams or a little on-the-road videos. I already know a couple people I want to interview and check out up at the Oregon Renaissance Fair, so please look for those. We may even do a live from room 101 type video. Haven't done one of those in a while. Didn't do one last week, of course. I got in so damn late. I wanted to do one Friday night last week. I was really looking forward to it because I got in early enough. I was going to do all my stuff, back to the hotel, have dinner, and then chat with you guys. But that fell through, and my damn flight didn't land until 10:30. So, but no promises, no guarantees on that, of course, because as you know, life on the road, things change. But you'll definitely get some content from me this week. And coming up next week, of course, is Beer and Songs with Brian. And then, hey, good to see you too, Scott. And then for at least 2 weeks, we'll get to do some bad advice episodes again. And those, again, are Patreon exclusives. So if you're watching this right now here on YouTube, head on over to my Patreon, which I will drop into the liner notes of this video. I didn't do it because normally I don't need to, because these videos are not normally public. But I think I'll do it, and I'll leave it public. Come on over, be a Patreon of mine. You get all kinds of exclusive access to the kind of mind that'll put a duck under his shirt and juggle a plunger and a tomato. I gave myself a note to try to get better at these sign-offs, so as you can see, I did not take the note. Now I'm going to sign off right now. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for being continued Patreonage. People that aren't Patrons, become Patrons. That way this is a regular part of your life. And just, look, don't you want this to be a regular part of your life? Yeah. Okay. So take care. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. I'll see you on the road, Patreons. Bye.